Okay. Very first or second question. Never mind. Okay. What attracts you to writing the most?
What attracts me to writing the most is, well, first of all, before we're going to have to edit this, can I look at the camera or look at you? I think I look at you, right?
I don't.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Let's start over.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I had good angle.
Starting over. Okay.
I had your hair and his face, and now I have to do it all over again. Okay, action.
Okay. What attracts you to writing the most?
What attracts me to writing the most? I would say being able to put words together in a unique way, and it's infinite. There's an infinite possibility of the way you can create meaning through words. I think that's what attracts me the most, is just being able to take a language and to put words together in a certain way that makes you feel something, that makes you emote, that makes tears or laughter or joy. I think that's what attracts me the most.
Okay. Was writing ever a career option for you, being a writer?
When I took, I think it was my sophomore or junior year, we took those career tests, and we did the, what career was best suited for you. And originally, I was planning on being a journalist, sports journalist, and started to think about it some more and started to get more into it. And I felt like the more I was in school and the more I came across reading teachers and English teachers, the more I wanted to do it, the more I got exposed to it. And my mom being a reading teacher and an English teacher at a high school nearby, that made me, she had a big influence on me as well. And so I think as a career, I kind of shifted from wanting to do it to wanting to teach it. And I kind of became passionate about that the more I got older and as I went into college. So I think at the beginning it was a career option, and I thought about dabbling in it in college, but the more I got older, the more that passion came out for actually wanting to show people how to do it instead of just doing it on my own.
So what type of writing would you say is, like, what type of writing are you most interested in? Is it like narratives or poetry, or what type of writing?
I love reading a good poem and trying to figure out what it means. Lately, I've been big into the fantasy/fiction genre, where the Harry Potters, and since those are coming out and the movies are out, everyone's kind of getting around that in the Twilight series. I've always been a fiction reader, but if I had to sit in a room for hours at a time and read a certain book or passage, it'd be something with poetry. I think you can get a lot of different meanings out of poetry, and you can do a lot with poetry.
Okay, so you said your mom was one of your inspirations. Who else, either famous poets or in your life, has been an inspiration to you with your writing?
That's a good question. Well, besides my mom, I had two very good English teachers. One when I was a senior in high school, over at Northwest High School. She was very inspirational, very helpful in my writing and my reading, suggested books to read when I was on vacation, kept in touch with her ever since, and then I had a very good professor in college that got me excited about doing what they do, and that kind of rubbed off on me. Watching them have so much fun and watching them get me excited about it made me want to pursue that and get other people excited about reading and writing. And kind of off on a tangent, just being able to, those teachers were able to affect me where at first I wasn't really that big of a reader, and they got me so inspired that I wanted to become a reader. And I think reading is sort of like a lost art nowadays with all the technology, computers, video games, that to get someone to be a reader and to want to be a reader, that's very inspiring. So.
Okay, so you went to college for writing. Where did you go to college? How many years? And what was your experience like with that?
Went to Ashland University. That was my first year as freshman year, and I was there for just my freshman year. It was a very good school. Got a little expensive. Had very good, very tough teachers over at Ashland. Very well educated English and reading teachers over there. Went over to the University of Akron. That's where I finished. I was there for 4.5 years, and was there ever since. took a lot away from my experience there. Had a lot of diverse teachers that had different theories, different perspectives, different ways of going about teaching. But for the most part, it was a very enjoyable experience at both schools.
Okay, so you say that writing would have been an option at the beginning, being a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you go into teachers, like being a teacher, instead of actually doing your own writing? Or do you still do your own writing on the side?
I do some of my own writing on the side, and I still have aspirations to write a novel one day. I've got a bunch of half sheets of paper and scrap paper where the beginnings of stories or ideas to the beginning of a story, and I just kind of leave them go. And I've been doing that for a long time, and I'm sure there's probably a plethora of scrap paper that I could use for fire. But I think having that passion to teach others is the thing that kind of drives me and motivated me to be a teacher rather than doing it for myself. I love seeing other people get it, not just myself. And I love watching students who don't really care for a passage or don't really care for reading to all of a sudden get fired up about it and start commenting, whether it's good or bad. If they're commenting and getting fired up about it, that's what gets me excited, and I got hooked on the feeling. It's just something that I love to see, get that aha moment that students have.
You talked about it a little bit, but do you think writing is a useless career now? Like, trying to get into a writing career is maybe not as easy as it was before, and is it pointless to even try?
It's kind of a lost art form, but I feel like the writers that are good nowadays are getting a lot of exposure. I mean, you see a lot of novels becoming movies, and you see a lot of writers that do it for the music industry, for speeches, writing speeches. You see it. You see it still in a lot of places, but I think it's becoming less and less important, because why read when you can go on the internet and look up information? You can watch a movie, you can play video games, you can text, you can do all the other things. Writing is becoming sort of a lost art form. I think it's very important that we still keep it around, and I think it'll be around. Just the way that we view writing and the way that it's around is going to change, I think. I think we're in the midst of a change where newspapers are becoming obsolete. You see less and less people buying newspapers because they can just go online. Now, obviously, people still have to write the articles online, but newspapers are cutting the amount of writers that they have. Magazines are cutting the writers that they have. So it's becoming less and less. But I think hopefully there might be a transition for the better, where they'll just be writers will be used in a different way than they have in the past.
Including poetry writers?
Including poetry writers. Now, I think there's poetry everywhere. Songwriters, for instance, are a big one. But if you write good poetry, then there's been some famous poets, and that's one of the benefits of college, is that you'll start to get acquainted with the new poets, the new age poets. A lot of poets don't become famous until after they're dead and gone. But that's not to say all of them, just a lot of the famous ones. But I feel like as people go through school, they go through college, they become educated about writing, they start to run into these really great authors, these really great poets. And they're out there, and they're being recognized, just not as, recognized as a sports athlete. And kind of to go off of that a little bit, to get on my soapbox, I read a book over the summertime, and they made a great point that we value in society, more than ever, we value the brute, the guy that looks good, the guy that's chiseled, the guy that can beat everybody up, over the person that's really intellectual, that can solve an equation, that can make a beautiful piece of poetry